Groundhog Day is about a man forced to repeat the same day over and over, but the reason why is never explained.
I'm thinking.
What caused this time loop to occur? We could try and theorize an answer, but it's the story behind this lack of answer that's actually more surprising.
Groundhog Day!
It's safe to say that Groundhog Day is the definitive time loop movie.
I am an immortal.
While there have been many others like Edge of Tomorrow, aka Live Die Repeat, Edge of Tomorrow, aka Live Die Repeat.
I'm sorry, what was that again?
They all stand in comparison to Groundhog Day.
I'm a god.
You're God.
In fact, Groundhog Day wasn't the only time loop movie to come out in 1993. 1201 is about a man forced to repeat the same day over and over.
Because if I wake up tomorrow and it's today, I'll kill myself.
While this was a TV movie that came out months after Groundhog Day, it's actually based on a short story from 20 years prior, which in turn got adapted for a short film in 1990, and then adapted again in 1993, and... Oh, no, I'm in a loop. Yeah, there I am. There I go. In fact, the author of 1201 tried to sue Groundhog Day for plagiarism, which seems a bit unjustified given the trapped repeating the same day concept has existed since the 1940s and has been a mainstay in Japanese media well before any of these movies. Either way, this case never got very far and the matter was dropped, cementing Groundhog Day's place as the time loop movie that all others get compared to.
Happy Death Day.
It's Groundhog Day but horror.
Edge of Tomorrow.
It's Groundhog Day but sci-fi.
Mickey's Once Upon a Christmas.
It's Groundhog Day but... ducks. According to Danny Rubin, the writer of the movie, he took inspiration from The Vampire Lestat by Anne Rice and reflected on what effect immortality would actually have on a person.
In Danny Rubin's original script, Danny imagined him living this day over and over for thousands of years.
But if someone lived through a really long time, would the film have to start in the past through to the present? Maybe into some kind of future town?
I slept too long!
At that point, the focus becomes about the ever-changing environment rather than the human experience. So what if the environment could stay the same, but the person lives through it over and over again? Bing! Now the film has changed into an existential study, from time travel to a time loop, and just 4 days later, the script was written. But for such a definitive time loop movie, the why this is happening was left out. There's no sci-fi pod, no magic stone, no alien blood, no mysterious cave, no Star Trek Next Generation. It just happens. In fact, Rubin's original script had the character Phil Connors in media res, aka in the middle of things, already adapted to life in the loop.
Then put your little hand in.
What a day.
You listening to me, Connors? I put my neck on the line for you.
Thanks.
You're gonna blow it.
You always say that.
When? I never said that. Now will you move it?
Despite this, after Harold Ramis got attached to direct, he co-wrote with Rubin to add in an opening act.
Of course, I'd actually told Danny Rubin that I loved the fact that he just started right in the middle with the device already occurring, and that's one thing I would never change. I promised him that. And of course, it was the first thing I changed.
This was to allow us as an audience to go through the emotional journey as a passenger rather than an observer. We discovered the situation with the main character from the very first loop.
One of the biggest changes I made in the script was to start to show Phil discovering this whole process. I thought it would be would really be cheating the audience not to let them see his reaction.
So the opening act was written to establish Phil as a self-centered and childish protagonist, someone who would be resistant to change, the perfect prey for a time loop. Emma Coates, a former Pixar storyboard artist, shared the Pixar rules of storytelling, which included...
Story basics number 6. What is your character good at? Comfortable with? Throw the polar opposite at them. Challenge them. How do they deal?
For Phil, his biggest nightmare is being trapped with no consequences, because without consequences, nothing changes. So he is forced to change instead.
We're not going to believe that he's going to actually change the kind of person he is just based on a little experience. We have to feel that it's because he can live forever.
With the concept figured out and the opening act establishing the character, the only thing missing was what causes the time loop, and it remained missing.
One thing we thought was totally cool about his script was he never explained where the time warp, why it happened.
Because this wasn't important. As Danny Rubin explains, if the time loop in Groundhog Day had a cause, then the story would be about the cause. If it was a science experiment, then the character would be focused on trying to repair it. Or if it was a magical spell, then the character would be trying to undo it. By removing that plot point completely, it forces the character to focus on themselves. There are was naturally some discussion on the cause of the time loop, such as a magical clockmaker or a crazy ex-girlfriend.
We had him with a disaffected lover at the TV station, and she curses him, and none of that stuff made any sense, and we thought the audience doesn't really need to know why.
And that was that. Except it wasn't. The studio put down an ultimatum. Add a scene that explains why this is happening, or we won't greenlight the movie.
Hey, what? Put this in your movie.
No.
Yes.
No.
Yes.
No.
Okay, fine.
Remember, this was one of the earliest movies to toy with a time loop plot device, so it was still a relatively new idea to audiences. Like, we know what a time loop movie is because of Groundhog Day, but this is Groundhog Day, so But to explain why the time loop was happening undermines everything. What do you want me to do? Cried Rubin. Write a stupid gypsy curse scene? Groundhog Day was beginning to look at its own shadow, forecasting a long, bleak winter. So, they came up with an idea. Rubin and Ramis would write a scene that explains everything, the why that the movie was missing. And that why was a stupid gypsy curse scene.
Excuse me, coming through. Ow, nice hat, lady. Excuse me.
Hey, why can't you wait in line like everybody else?
Yeah, get to the back.
I'm not like everybody else. I'm important. See? Now, excuse me, I'm in a hurry.
Curse him, Ma.
Don't be in such a hurry that you don't get anywhere at all.
What?
Go back, or I curse you.
Right.
Wow. This frankly lazy take off the gypsy, often portrayed as ethnic stereotyping of Romani people, never made it into the movie, of course. Go back or I curse you. Wow, inspired script in there. The scene was never even filmed. So, how did they avoid the studio's demands? Imagine a film schedule where they line up all the scenes to be shot, not necessarily in chronological order. In fact, this film is unique in that once they've shot a scene, they could just quickly reset and repeat the sequence, with only Phil changing his behaviour. Even the extras and cars are moving in the exact same pattern. And the infamous gypsy curse scene gets placed, here, as the very last scene to be shot. So when filming inevitably runs behind schedule, which it always does, oh no, we ran out of time to film the gypsy curse scene. Oh, never mind. And then they just cut it from the film like it was never there. And what was the result? Well, the film was critically well received and a modest box office hit for sure, but it had a deeper impact. The film managed to have a profound spiritual and philosophical response from pretty much every religion, even the non-religious.
First, I heard of it. There were Hasidic Jews marching outside, picketing outside the theater, not against the movie, but they were holding up signs saying, "Are you living the same day over and over again?"
And because the film doesn't give you a why, it lets other people come up with their own reasons. Was it God? Was it karma? Was it in Phil's imagination caused by the concussion of that shovel that hit him at the beginning? There is no answer, and that's why I love this film. It can be tempting to overthink movies. Why does Buzz Lightyear still act like an inanimate object around Andy if he doesn't believe he's a toy?
I think the word you're searching for is Space Ranger.
How do cars die? Is there a car heaven? How does cat dog poop? But that isn't really important. So sometimes it's okay to just leave things completely unexplained.
I agree, and I am but a humble mushroom.
Groundhog Day didn't invent the time loop genre, but it might as well have done. I mean, what piece of media would have the idea to break time itself just to teach Bill Murray how to play the piano?
Not bad.
Groundhog Day takes the time loop, refuses to explain itself, and explores the concept in fun, logical, and creative ways with a character who adapts, changes, and prospers. And that is more fun to watch over and over and over again. And that's why Groundhog Day is my favourite.
Hiya!
Oh, hello, Mr. Groundhog.
Hey, are you Eddie?
Yes?
Mr. Mendoza sends his regards.
And that's why... Wait, what just happened?
Hey, are you Eddie?
No.
There can be no witnesses.
And that's why... No!
Hey, are you...
As we saw with Groundhog Day, writing is a difficult process. How do you tell a story? We could all learn something from this, which brings me to this video's sponsor, Skillshare. Skillshare is an online learning community with tons of creative classes for you to explore. You could learn new skills or develop existing passions wherever inspiration strikes, such as making music.
You say this is your first lesson?
Yes, but my father was a piano mover.
There's a bunch of classes on creative writing to discover and get you started on your storytelling story, such as Daniel Jose Older's class on Storytelling 101, bite-sized lessons on character, conflict, context, and craft. And you don't need a time loop to get the most out of Skillshare, as it costs less than $10 a month. And if you use the link in the description, you can get a free trial of the premium membership. But this offer is only open to the first 1,000 people who click the link, so hurry up before time runs out.
It's still just once a year, isn't it?
So it's time for shoutouts. We have Kai Newton, who edited this video, Jamie Spicer Lewis for doing the additional animation, and Nando V Movies, Eiley Monty, and Ellen Rose for their guest voiceovers. This video had a crazy turnaround, so I want to thank everyone involved in helping me make it. And if you like what I do, then please consider supporting me on Patreon.